Welcome to Urban Enigma, where we explore the darkest corners of reality and the terrifying stories that inspire the films you fear the most. Today, we're diving into the chilling true events behind the recently released Netflix movie, Deliverance. This film is based on the horrifying experiences of Latoya Ammons and her family in Gary, Indiana, a case that shocked the world and left a lasting impact on those who witnessed it. In November 2011, Latoya Ammons, along with her mother Rosa Campbell and her 3 children, moved into a seemingly ordinary rental home at 3860 Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. But what they thought would be a new beginning quickly turned into a nightmare. Soon after moving in, the family began to experience strange and terrifying events that would escalate into a full-blown demonic crisis. It started with small, inexplicable occurrences. Footsteps echoing through the empty house, shadowy figures lurking in the corners, and unearthly noises that kept the family awake at night. But these minor disturbances were just the beginning. As time went on, the activity grew more intense and more sinister. One of the most disturbing early signs of the malevolent presence in the house was the sudden appearance of swarms of flies. No matter how many the family killed, the flies would always return, clustering around the windows and doors, as if drawn to something dark and evil within the house. This infestation occurred in the dead of winter, a time when flies are usually dormant, adding to the eerie nature of the phenomenon. But the flies were just the beginning. Latoya's children began to exhibit strange and disturbing behavior. The youngest child, a 7-year-old boy, started speaking in a deep, unnatural voice, threatening his family with violence. The middle child, a 9-year-old boy, would sit and stare blankly at a wall for hours on end, his eyes glazed over and unresponsive. The oldest child, a 12-year-old girl, reported feeling as if she were being choked by invisible hands, leaving red marks on her neck. The situation reached its horrifying peak in April 2012, when Latoya and her mother sought help from their family doctor. The children were taken to the doctor's office, where they exhibited violent behavior that shocked the medical staff. The 7-year-old boy, in particular, became the center of a terrifying incident that would later be described as supernatural. During a medical examination, the boy suddenly began to growl and thrash about uncontrollably. In a horrifying display of unnatural strength, he lifted his grandmother and threw her across the room with ease. But what happened next would be the most chilling event of all. In the presence of medical staff, the boy was lifted off the ground by an unseen force and flung against the wall. As if that wasn't enough, the boy then began to crawl backward up the wall to the ceiling, his body twisted in impossible angles. This event was witnessed by the attending nurse and a social worker, both of whom were left in a state of shock and disbelief. The boy's grandmother and mother, both devoutly religious, believed that the child was possessed by a demon, and they begged for help. After this incident, the children were taken to the hospital for further evaluation. There, a series of exorcisms were performed by a Catholic priest named Father Michael Maginot, who later reported that the children exhibited signs of possession, including unnatural strength, speaking in tongues, and violent aversions to religious objects. Father Maginot conducted a total of 3 exorcisms on Latoya Ammons herself, who also exhibited signs of possession, including convulsions and violent reactions to holy water. The exorcisms were performed in both English and Latin, and during these rituals, Latoya's body would contort and twist as if under the control of a powerful force. The exorcisms were grueling, lasting for hours, with Latoya fighting against the priest's prayers and rituals. At one point her eyes rolled back into her head, and she let out a guttural scream that echoed through the church, terrifying those in attendance. Despite the exorcisms, the demonic presence seemed to persist, haunting the family even after they left the house on Carolina Street. After the exorcisms, the Ammons family moved out of the house, leaving behind the nightmares they had endured. However, the story didn't end there. The house on Carolina Street became the subject of intense media attention, with investigators, journalists, and paranormal experts flocking to the site in search of answers. The house was eventually purchased by paranormal investigator Zach Bagans, who documented his experiences in the 2018 film. Bagans reported experiencing strange occurrences and even claimed to have been affected physically and mentally by the dark forces in the house. The house was later demolished, but the story of the Ammons family's ordeal continues to be a source of fascination and fear. The 2024 Netflix movie is a fictionalized account of these events, but it draws heavily from the real-life experiences of the Ammons family. The film portrays the terror and helplessness of a family under siege by forces they cannot understand or control. It also explores the themes of faith, fear, and the unknown, asking the audience to confront the possibility that some things cannot be explained by science or reason. One of the most memorable and terrifying scenes in the movie is the depiction of the boy crawling backward up the wall, a direct reference to the real-life event witnessed by multiple people. The movie also includes scenes of swarming flies, violent possessions, and the relentless battle between good and evil, all inspired by the Ammons family's true story. While takes some creative liberties, the core of the story remains true to the real-life horrors that took place in that modest house in Gary, Indiana. It serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones that are real. As you watch, remember that the events on screen are not just fiction. They are based on the real experiences of a family that lived through a nightmare. At Urban Enigma, we bring you the stories behind the stories, uncovering the dark truths that inspire our deepest fears. If you enjoyed this exploration of the true events behind, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more tales from the dark side.